Coming up on Business Incorporated, OPEC Secretary General stresses need for cautioning oil production. And IMF projects 5.4% growth for West African Economic and Monetary Union in 2021. And AFDB president says insecurity is a major challenge to Africa's development. Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Ladi Williams. We begin the midweek show with market numbers. All the major markets we track in Africa were in negative territory at intraday. GSE in South Africa lost the most by 0.62%, while the NSE in Nigeria fell 0.12%. In Egypt, the EGX30 declined 0.32%, while the market in Kenya ended Tuesday's session negative. And investor sentiment in the Middle East were mixed at intraday. In the UAE, Dubai's main index advanced 0.80%, while the Abu Dhabi index declined almost 0.2%. Elsewhere in the region, Saudi Arabia's market rose 0.63%, while the Qatari index fell 0.19%. And European stocks advanced today, with investors in the UK keen to see what the taxation and spending plans the British government reveals in the annual budget statement. Investors in Germany also have their eyes on some major government decisions. Chelsea will be bringing us up to speed on what's happening. Hello, Chelsea. Great to have you. So it's an important day for Germany as state and federal leaders meet in Berlin to decide whether to ease lockdown measures in place since last year. What is expected today?
Well, there are a lot of expectations out of today's meeting. What we've heard so far is that the German officials are likely to agree to extend the lockdown measures till March 28th, so a couple more weeks. But they will likely introduce some steps for easing the lockdown. There have been a lot of different proposals. There are a lot of different potential easing steps, but one area that people are watching quite closely is the retail sector and whether stores will be allowed to reopen again. There have been some conditions set for potential store reopenings, but the government is also trying to get retailers to make appointment-based shopping a bigger part of their business model. So you would make an appointment online and then you would go in and they would be able to sort of control the number of people in the stores that way. So we likely are as well going to see some other stores open. Things like flower shops, nail salons are expected to reopen around the country starting next Monday. But there still is a threshold that the government is setting, about 35 cases per 100,000 residents. That's the level that they want to see cases fall below before they really allow a broad-scale reopening of the economy. And as of today, Germany is reporting about 64 cases per 100,000 residents. So we're still a bit away from a full reopening.
And German politicians have said that widespread use of rapid coronavirus tests could enable a quicker reopening. How would that work?
Well, this is emerging as an area where politicians really want to see more investment and more use. Self-tests here in Germany haven't been really widely used so far. They were just recently approved for people to be able to take these rapid antigen tests at home. So it still is something that's quite new here. But politicians have said that rapid tests could really be the key to reopening. They want, for example, teachers to be able to take rapid tests. They want students to be able to take these tests at least once a week as they return to school. But they're also looking at the business world and saying that employers should offer their employees 2 rapid tests a week. And this is also a potential method that they'll use in terms of business reopenings. If you want to go to a restaurant, say, and sit at a table with other people, then you may have to show a test. So this is all still very early on because we haven't really adopted rapid tests very much here. It's still quite new, but it's definitely something that politicians want to see built out more.
And the EU said it's considering ways to speed up approval of coronavirus vaccines after being criticized for moving too slowly in its vaccine rollout. Can you tell us more?
So the EU has said that they're considering changing the way that they approve coronavirus vaccines. So in the past, they've given coronavirus vaccines basically the normal approval process. It's quite slow. It requires a lot of data, and that's why the EU is being criticized, because they were much slower to approving these vaccines than the US and the UK. They were several weeks behind the first approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine in December. And so that was one of the reasons why Europe got off to a really slow start. So now the EU is talking about potentially moving towards emergency use authorizations. This is the procedure that other countries have been following. It's a shortened procedure. It doesn't require as much data. This is obviously crucial right now because there is still a shortage of vaccines in Europe. They need more. They need more to be approved. But there are, of course, skeptics, especially given how high skepticism of vaccines already is in Europe and across the world. They want people to be sure that vaccines are really getting a close look from the regulators. So it's something they're proposing because of this criticism, but they want to ensure that people still trust the vaccines once they've been approved.
All right, Chelsea, thanks for the update. Do enjoy the rest of your day. And in the UK, all eyes are on the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, who is about to make the UK budget presentation. Let's hear more now from Juliana. Great to have you, Juliana. The long-awaited budget is about to be presented by the Chancellor. Have you heard anything?
Unfortunately, not, Laddie, because I'm standing here speaking to you and the viewers, but as you said, it is highly anticipated, probably the most highly anticipated budget in a generation, and a generation before that. We have seen the pictures, the pretty spontaneous, ceremonial pictures of Chancellor Rishi Sunak holding the red box outside number 11. And there has been lots of leaks given to the media. I spoke about a few of them to you this week. I spoke about some of them to Chimazee this morning. What has been confirmed is that the furlough scheme, officially known as the Job Retention Scheme, will continue. It's been extended several times over the past year. It's supposed to end at the end of April. That will be extended until September or October. We also know that contactless payments are pretty popular with people here in the UK at the moment. I believe you can tap your card and pay up to £40 for goods, but now this has been extended to £100. They're hoping that that's going to stimulate people to spend more. With all of the leaks, we haven't actually heard about, where they're going to get back some of this money and claw back some of the billions that they've been spending over the past year to put back in the coffers, because we know that national debt is almost at 100% of national income. And the Chancellor has spoken about levelling up with society. And this money does have to be paid back. I know we don't have time, but I'll quickly go through a couple more things. We know that the stamp duty holiday is going to be extended. So that's what people have to pay when you're buying a home. It's literally the money you pay for a stamp on your document. £410 million is going to be given to the theatre culture industry. Community groups are going to be given £150 million to help struggling pubs and cafes that have been closed for nearly a year. An extra £520 million is to be given to help small businesses. And there is a lot of talk about fraud. A lot of this money that's been given over the past year has, of course, been given without any red tape and bureaucracy. There's estimated that up to £5 billion has been stolen because of these government schemes. So the government are putting £100 million to try and prevent and combat and claw some of that money back. Of course, there is so much more. The Chancellor is speaking as I'm speaking, so I'm sure people will probably be more interested to hearing what he's got to say.
Interesting. We'll keep tracking that. Anyway, the latest PMI indicates UK's economy is in stability. What are the key findings there?
Well, yeah, there is a degree of stability coming back to the UK economy. Andrew Bailey, the Bank of England governor, did say that, Britain is going to have to get used to living with COVID in some sort of lockdown. In January, the services sector, which, of course, is Britain's key sector. It contributes about 80% to GDP. It declined for the first time in 8 months to a low of 39.5 in January. So it's come in this morning at 49.5, still below that important 50 number. Anything below 50 does indicate that the sector is contracting. And in the services sector, it has been below 50 now for 3 months. So still not great, but a massive improvement. And we're expecting it, of course, to improve more as these lockdown restrictions start to take place, the first one being on Monday, the 8th of March. And so it is a good thing. Hospitality, services, tourism still pretty much closed. So they're reeling underneath this third national lockdown, which is why so many are hoping that this vaccine rollout and the success of it, starts to kicking fast so the economy can start ticking again.
And the London stock market started strongly this morning thanks to the budget presentation. But are the markets also looking at those PMI data?
Well, it's fair to say it's all budget in the morning, budget in the afternoon, and I suspect it'll be all budget tomorrow. We're seeing triple-digit figures on the FTSE. Many of the top 100 blue-chip companies rely on hospitality and tourism. Lots of goodies and giveaways the Chancellor will be giving today, and the market have anticipated and priced that in. So the all-share at intraday is up 1.15%. The FTSE 100 is up by 1.12%. Domestic market, the FTSE 250 up higher at 1.38%. In the currencies, pound is doing well against the dollar. It's up by 0.14%, down against the euro, though, by 0.18%, and up against the Japanese yen at intraday by 0.38%, Laddie.
All right, we'll keep tracking the budget presentation. Thank you for the updates. Always great to talk to you. And stocks in Asia Pacific were higher today as a private survey showed slowing growth in China's services sector activity last month. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index led gains among the region's major markets, jumping 2.7% to close at 29,880 points. And mainland Chinese stocks also rose on the day as the Shanghai Composite gained 1.95% to 3,576. While the Shenzhen component advanced 1.22% to about 14,932. Elsewhere, the S&P ASX 200 in Australia edged 0.82% higher to close at 6,818 as the counter's gross domestic product rose 3.1% in seasonally adjusted chain volumes terms in the December quarter. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 closed 0.51% higher at 29,559, while the Topix index also gained 0.51% to finish its trading day at 1,904. South Korea's Kospi climbed 1.29% to close at 3,082. And U.S. stock futures were higher in early morning trading after stocks dipped in the Tuesday regular session. Dow futures rose 179 points. S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ 100 futures also both traded in positive territory. On Tuesday, the major averages gave back some of their sharp gains from Monday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 143 points, pressured by 2.6% drop in Intel, while S&P 500 registered a loss of about 0.8%. NASDAQ Composite was the relative underperformer, dipping about 1.7% as Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google parent Alphabet closed lower. And oil prices were down in early trade today, extending several days of losses amid uncertainty over how much supply producing countries will push to restore to the market at a meeting this week while the coronavirus pandemic persists. Brent crude futures dipped 0.1% to $62.63 a barrel, down 7% from a 13-month high hit last week, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 0.3% to $59.57 a barrel, down about 6% since February the 25th. Reinforcing concerns of potential oversupply, the American Petroleum Institute Industry Group reported U.S. crude stocks rose by 7.4 million barrels in the week to February the 26th, in stark contrast to analysts' estimates for a draw of 928,000 barrels. And we'll bring you more stories from the African continent after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Egypt is marking the second stage of inoculation campaign with the beginning of the much anticipated rollout of the coronavirus vaccine targeting priority groups. The first stage, which focused on medical staff, was launched in January. And joining me now to talk more about the vaccine rollout and containment measures is Edward Iranian, a Voice of America journalist in Cairo. Hello, Edward. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so last week, the Minister of Health said the country will receive 8.6 million doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine and 300,000 doses of the Sinopharm soon. Already, Egypt has been receiving vaccines since December. How has the inoculation been going, and have you gotten the jab?
No. I have not, and I am not planning to. I don't think an awful lot of Egyptians have gotten inoculated so far, just judging by word of mouth. But obviously, the number of vaccines that were received is far too small to inoculate the entire population. Even if they get 8.6 million vaccines, that's roughly 10% of the population, 8% of the population. So I don't think they're really planning to inoculate everybody, clearly, at least not at this stage. And I don't think the general public really likes the idea, just talking to people in general without having any scientific analysis of my findings. But I don't think Egypt has been hit as hard as some of the neighboring countries, just judging by the numbers. Looking at the declared cases and the casualties, I think Egypt was pretty much spared the really worst of this virus. I'm not even going to call it a pandemic because I'm not sure personally, and I say that personally, don't take this as a global assessment, but I am not sure this is a pandemic either, personally.
Okay, so COVID-19 cases in Egypt has been on the rise and currently stands at about 183,000. What are the restrictions put in place to curb the spread?
I'm not sure they're on the rise. I was checking the numbers, the daily numbers for the last 2 weeks, and the curve seems to be going down, actually. I believe there were 580 cases yesterday, and it's been under 600 for at least the last 3-4 days. And the number of casualties has been, on a daily basis, I've been watching that very closely, has never really gone much above 50. In a country of 100 million people. Now, I'm sure there are more people dying on the highways every day than of this virus. So what has Egypt been doing? Well, I mean, they've been making, I don't know, making is too strong a word because I see a lot of people who are not observing this, but they've been generally making people wear masks on public transportation and in businesses like banks and things like that. I don't see anyone forcing people to do it, but I've heard that some of the passengers on buses have been fined for not wearing the masks. So I think they're making a bit of an effort, but it's not as strenuous an effort as in some other countries. Interesting.
What else are Egyptians looking out for this week?
I think the issue of major concern has been the dam that Ethiopia has been building on the Nile, one of the branches of the Nile. And yesterday, the Sudanese foreign minister was visiting Cairo, and Egypt and Sudan came to some sort of agreement that they were going to work together, I guess militarily and diplomatically, to try to reach some sort of an agreement with Ethiopia so no one downstream, which means Sudan and Egypt, are harmed by the dam. So there is a bit of ill feeling in Egypt about this dam, and hopefully they will come to some sort of an agreement without this reaching any crisis stage.
All right, Edward, thank you so much for your time. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
My pleasure.
Thank you. An International Monetary Fund is projecting a 5.4% growth for the West African Economic and Monetary Union in 2021, mostly driven by a rebound in private consumption and private investment, reflecting the relaxation of lockdown constraints and the return of foreign direct investment. According to the IMF, a gradual fiscal consolidation is expected to start this year and bring the aggregate fiscal deficit to 3% of GDP by 2023. The fund says a gradual return of the region to the aggregate fiscal deficit ceiling of 3% of GDP by 2023 will support internal and external stability, adding that converging towards the fiscal deficit anchor is essential to maintain an adequate level of external reserves and ensure debt sustainability. Enhancing revenue mobilization, public financial management, and fiscal transparency will also be crucial for the WAMU region. And the president of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, says insecurity is now the #1 challenge to Africa's development. In a series of tweets via his official Twitter handle, the FDB president said terrorism is shrinking Africa's investment space, adding that it is no longer a political issue but an economic one. According to him, Africa can no longer decouple security and development, as it is important to ensure security stability. Mr. Adesina says Africa needs new financial instruments to protect and secure investments in countries and regions against rising insecurity. Meanwhile, the Secretary General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, Mohamed Bakindo, says OPEC and its allies need to remain disciplined with their oil production to ensure its full recovery, even as the global economy continues to rebound from the pandemic. Mr. Bakindo, who emphasized on cautious optimism, was speaking at a delegate-level OPEC Plus technical committee meeting ahead of when ministers will convene online to decide on production levels for April and perhaps beyond. He explains that OPEC's analysts project global oil demand will grow by 5.8 million barrels per day in 2021 to reach 96 million barrels per day, compared to a pre-pandemic market of around 100 million barrels per day. OPEC and its allies, together called OPEC Plus, are set to meet on Thursday at a time when they are generally positive on the oil market outlook compared with a year ago when they slashed supply to boost prices. And that's a wrap on Business Incorporated. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.